Hello, ladies. Welcome back. Welcome back. You got it, Patty?
I'm on. Yeah, I'm on.
She said I am on and alive and well. Welcome back, everybody. It is That's What She Said Wednesday. And this is a first for us, ladies. This is a first where we liked our topic so much and we felt like there was so much not talked about from last week that we came back and did a part two. So we are back for another episode of That's What She Said. We are talking about the price of fame. This is part two. And if you missed part one, go back and check it out. If you are new here, please do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. And we're going to get into today's topic. I'm going to really just do my best to be fully here and present, although I am very sad following the day after election. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's been a very somber day for me over here. So I'm going to do my best today, and I'm excited to be here. So that we can get started, Miss Patty, you have brought and invited a wonderful guest for us today. So I'm going to let you introduce her.
Bring her on stage. What's up? My friend Danielle is here. She's an amazing woman. I'll let her introduce herself and tell you whatever she wants you to know about her and why she's so well qualified to speak about this topic.
Well, nothing like an introduction like that. Thank you, ladies, for having me. So, talking about myself. I am a realtor here in the Sacramento area. Most importantly, I'm a single mother of 4 boys, sister to 2 retired pro athletes, and born and raised Sacramento native. And I came across Patty. Patty, I think I met you at like a fundraising event or something. Just
you want to tell them how we fell in love this early in the show? Save that. Just kidding.
But yeah, just happy to be invited onto the show, and I have started following each of you, Kalani and Jade, through the likes of Patty, and I just really admire your achievements, your attitude, your bossiness. And when Patty reached out, I was really excited to come on and join and give my perspective on basically the cost of fame, because to me it costs a lot.
Well, that was great. First of all, nice to meet you, Danny. We're so glad that you're on. We know that you and Patty are completely in love, and we're going to get the love story later on. So real quick, before we even get into the price of fame, I love how you so humbly said, I have 2 brothers that are retired athletes. Girl, we name drop on this show. We need to know, if you don't mind sharing. Do you mind sharing?
Well, no, I don't mind sharing. Sacramento area knows the Barnes family. So Matt Barnes, a 14-year NBA vet, champion with the Warriors. And then my younger brother, Jason Barnes, played 8 years in the CFL, Canadian Football League, and won a national championship up there as well. So, I mean, it's just what our family does. So, I'm the only one left in Sacramento. They've left me here, and I'm holding down fort. And I'm just happy to be here.
I like what you said about the cost of fame being high, because for years, I looked back on my Twitter, and since 2012, 2013, I've been saying the price of fame is too high. I like fortune over fame. That's why I came up with this. I've always known that. I've always felt it. I think that growing up in the Bay Area, you do kind of, even on that, you go out from here time to time, you're going to see famous people, you're going to interact with them, and you kind of get an idea of what that lifestyle looks like. I don't know it as intimately as you do, but what I learned really early in my life was that the trade-off was too high. The price of fame is too high. And I think it's important that you give some of that insight, partially from the perspective of the fact that there's so many entrepreneurs right now that believe that fame gives them some sort of leverage, right? We have people like Alex Hormozi, who's extremely successful, worth over $100 million, who constantly says the idea of leveraging fame is extremely beneficial to growth and earnings and things of that nature. But we don't want people to prematurely seek fame instead of impact, for example. So we want to kind of get a little bit deeper into it for the audience.
Mm-hmm. So one of my takeaways kind of from last week, as I thought about that conversation, which went way deeper than I could have even expected it to go. I'm like, I don't know if we even actually captured what the cost of the fame actually is, what you're sacrificing when you are in pursuit of fame, right? And so I think for the sake of the audience, let's kind of identify what we mean. So I have a cousin who a lot of you probably, well, everybody on this call knows. Y'all know my cousin G, right? He's a DJ out in LA, DJ Geronimo. And he
Danny,
and I,
G. He got us into the
She
clubs
got
in
us
LA.
into the club. Yes.
Yeah, G.
I was kind of jealous that y'all were partying without me. Honestly, I didn't get that invite. But G and I had a very spirited debate one day about kind of fortune over fame. And his position was, you can take infamy and influence, followers, following, and really use that to catapult, right, all the different ways to monetize and make a revenue stream. My position is I can do all that without anybody even knowing my name and not have to compromise my peace, my sanity, and all those things. So Danny, where do you fall on the spectrum? What do you think?
That's me. I'm more of a leave me out of it. I've been around it really from start to finish, not necessarily finish. I've kind of stepped out of it because to me, it costs too much. Everything you say, everything you do, everyone you're in touch with. I'm just stuck on being me. I mean, it's a blessing and it's a curse, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to speak my mind. So even in real estate, I feel like my clients will find me. The ones that don't like the way I carry myself, those aren't my people. And I kind of stepped out of the spotlight, being the little sister to somebody that has really come into his fame more so after the NBA. Talking about Matt, he's just a huge magnet, and I mean, he's super successful. He's doing more now than he ever was in the NBA, and people are chasing dreams that he's achieving. And to me, I will always be proud of him, always very proud of him. But I've never been one to put people on pedestals. I admire work ethic. I admire realness, and I admire the freedom that comes with being able to speak your mind and still having your people around. So,
so is that one of the costs? I mean, you got to give that up. You give up a little bit of freedom if you want to be in that limelight.
You got it. Yeah, you give up a lot of your freedom, and I mean, you got to have a lawyer on retention, and I just can't move like that. So, I don't know.
So you had said, I'm just into being me, I think is literally what you just said. And so when you are, and that's something that I'm not really willing to compromise. So a lot of people don't know this. I was signed to a record label when I was really young, and they really wanted to push me in a different direction than I really wanted to go, than was like really authentic to me. And it felt like I was almost betraying my authentic self of who I know I am, my greater calling, all to fit into this, perception or this box of what people think I should be. I later found out in life, my therapist told me, don't should all over yourself. And that's one of those quotes that stick with me to this day, because even in moments where I'm contemplating things that I should or shouldn't do, it's like, hey, what I shouldn't do is should all over myself. Right. And so I guess my question then is, what have you seen? And Jade, I'm going to even direct this at you first, because you have an incredible following. We've talked about that a lot, but I know you in a very authentic way. I feel like I know who Jade is to the core. And the reality is that most people that see us online, they're never going to know who we really are. People see what we allow them to see. And even people who are super, super famous, until a story happens, until you get caught off guard, until somebody was spying on you, until someone's blackmailing you, you really don't ever get exposed. So you're allowing people to see whatever version of you want to present to the world. Jade, we just had a conversation about being places where you felt like you couldn't even have a drink in your hand without being judged, right? So was that a cost, and is that a cost you're still continuing, or you're willing to pay considering how influential you are here in Dallas.
And I want to add one thing to that question. Tell us the difference between that being famous through radio and having to represent a brand versus that transition of having this large following and this fame on your own, right? Does the answer to that question change depending on where that fame is coming from?
That's a really great question. I think when I signed up and I ended up being on radio, I didn't know what costs came with it. And I didn't even know that I was falling into this box, right? I was showing up as I thought myself every day. What ended up happening over time is, when I got on the radio, I was 22, 23 years old. Well, as I'm growing and evolving in my personal life, you can't.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah, because I'm 25.
For y'all that can't do math.
As you're growing and evolving and changing in life, the audience does not want you to grow, evolve, and change. I use the example all the time. Whenever you watch Martin was always going to be Martin. Him and Pam were always going to fight. Gina was going to be the same. So when you're a part of entertainment, there is a box that you don't realize you're being placed into. And you have to be very consistent. Otherwise, it throws people off. Well, because I was the good girl on the radio, which I was really a good girl in real life too. But I mean, we all have, we're not monolithic. You know what I'm saying? We all have layers to us. Well, when I wanted my layers off the air, what I started realizing over time is, off the air, they're expecting on the air Jade, right? So off the air, I'm a little bit more quiet and a little bit more reserved unless I'm around people that I'm, really comfortable with. Well, on the air, we turn it up, you know what I mean? Or when I'm hosting events or whatever. So what I realized, I started training myself to become who everybody else accepted over time. And so, yes, to your point of I didn't want to have a drink in my hand because I didn't want to disappoint a listener to be like, y'all always talk about she doesn't drink on the air. And I didn't for a long time. But when I evolved, you can't get on the air and say, hey, by the way, everybody, I've decided that I'm going to start drinking again. Right. So I got stuck in this box. So now making the transition that I'm no longer on the air and I am on this platform, it's a mental game. If I'm being honest, Patty, you know what I mean? You have to constantly remind yourself to show up as your authentic self. And even though I feel like I always do, and I never went as far as denying who I truly was, but I think there's this fine line that you tread, especially when over time you don't realize you've become a people pleaser. So it's a weird thing because I'm a tough cookie. I don't let anybody tell me what to do. I don't let anybody run over me. But at the same time, I have this thing inside of me that I want to show up for people. I want to make people feel good, and I don't want to disappoint people. So it's this constant seesaw that I'm on. And now that I'm out on the radio, I am having to relearn myself. And I think we talked about this a little, last week of okay, I know who everybody expects me to be. Who am I authentically? Because I played into that for so long. You know what I mean? And it's not too far off, y'all. I'm not out here faking. So I don't want anybody to think that it's like that. But I am reinventing myself. I do want to change. I do want to grow. And unfortunately, I have to do that in the public's eye. A lot of people get to do that in the privacy of their own home with their family. They get to evolve. People see my ugly and me trying new things and it not working out. People see me failing publicly, which is not the easiest thing to do. So there's just a lot of layers to it. And I don't know if what I'm saying is actually making sense or if
it does make sense. I need to say something because I think for people that don't experience fame at that level, all of us, if we don't experience fame at that level, I think we need to give people space to breathe and give people space to change. I always say that as a community of listeners, watchers, viewers, students, what we expect from people is authenticity. But when they give us authenticity in the most pure human form, we crucify them for it. So you can't ask people for their authentic self and expect that to be a flawless transition, a flawless presentation of who they are, and then crucify them for having, skeletons in their closet, or shedding skin publicly and making certain changes, or saying, hey, I didn't drink at this point, but now I'm drinking now. It doesn't make me a two-faced, liar. It makes me someone who just changed my mind. And I think it's okay to do that. Maybe we need to learn. I think the way that things are evolving, especially kind of, what we're seeing, where Kalani alluded to the election, you can talk about how much of an impact social media has on that and our perception of things, and, fear, etc. But my point is that if you are a person who is experiencing some sort of fame, and you feel like you're stuck in this box of who you are, I think as onlookers, we need to be more forgiving of that. You ask for authenticity, don't crucify people for giving it to you.
And that's such a great way to put it. There's a saying, don't meet your heroes, because, you get disappointed, right? But we also have to keep in mind that our heroes are human beings. Our heroes have bad days. I literally can remember being on the air. I got married, and 10 months later, I'm going through a divorce, and I'm so ashamed and having to hide that, because finally all these listeners were on this journey with me, and I found love. And then now here I am, less than a year later, failing publicly. And I have to I was tormented for months about how am I going to make this announcement and let everybody know that I still picked the wrong guy. It still didn't work out for me, because I did not want to let people down. They were so happy for me. You know what I mean? So it is, we are, everybody is human. And it's funny, like, Danny, when I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking, like, you didn't even ask for this life. Right? Like, you got thrown into this life just by who you were connected with. And so not only do you have to deal with, now you're in the public eye that you didn't ask for, you also have to deal with the crap and opinions that people have about your brothers. And there's a sense, I'm sure, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, you feel like to a certain extent you have to defend them. And they probably have no idea how many arguments, probably almost street fights you've had. Talking crap about your family, girl. I cannot imagine.
And also not knowing why people want to be close to you,
Yeah,
like being a target. Yeah.
That part. Yeah, that, I think I'm an empath through and through. I am so in my feelings, like really rough on the outside. And I think I have become that way because of the position that I hold, and because of the fame that my family has. So that was one thing that I did want to bring up on here is, since a teenager, because Matt's been huge since we were kids. So, friendships that are formed, the females that approach me, are they approaching me to be my friend, or are they approaching me to get at one or both of my brothers? And unfortunately, it's the latter part of my sentence. It's usually to be connected to who I'm related to. So I've had to really thicken my skin, but I'm a lover at heart. And over time, what that has done to me, it's really scorned me. Like, to be honest, like, my walls are up. And so friendships with females, that was the initial one. But as I grew older in life, it actually became like male partners. And I've been in long-term relationships most of my life, so not too many relationships, but even up until recently, I got to wonder why these men approach me. And a lot of times it has to do with who the family is and what the connections are. And my access is pretty decent. I can't complain about all of the fame, because I've been given things and access to things that most people don't have. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm a lover, and I love my friends, and I love my people, and I want to love my man. And what I have learned over time is that not all the people in my life have been here for those right reasons. And so my circle is so small. My circle is so small, and my guard is so high. Even in the real estate field, I've got these, mega real estate agents that approach me. And I'm thinking, like, why little old me? Like, I know I'm all that and all, but the connection doesn't make sense, and the reaching out doesn't make sense. So that has
What
been
you're saying is the price of fame. We started with one. We talked about having to watch what you say, having to kind of always bite your tongue, walk on eggshells. And now what you're talking about is the really hard part, which is not knowing why people are approaching you. The trust
relationship.
factor. Yeah, that makes it really difficult to operate. How are you supposed to let your guard down and build an authentic, connection with somebody, whether it's professional or personal, when you don't know their intentions? And that must be really difficult.
It's extremely difficult. And I've been burned. I've been burned a lot. The thing that it has done is it's made me a lot smarter. My skin is thickened, but I mean, I'm still soft on the inside. So I'm a great judge of character for the most part. But yes, my guard is up initially. I do question everyone's intentions when I am approached. Unfortunately, I'm probably not the most authentic to start with. I'm really reading people. And to me, that's sad. And I hope it doesn't, even my son, he's in college. He's down in the LA area. Everyone thinks he looks like my brother. And he's got more than most college students should and would have at his age, considering that he's got a single mom. So, I mean, even his connections have been compromised because of who his family is. So I'm even teaching him, like, hey, you know what? I know that you're proud of your uncle. I know that you love your uncle. His uncle loves him to death. That's his pride and joy. But I was like, don't lead with that anymore. Just who you are is enough. And as people get to know who we are, then we can let them know more about our family. But it used to be something that we were like really prideful and outspoken about. And now I kind of like to not present that at all, if ever, because that's not me. And, he's not me and I'm not him at all. And those aren't the kind of relationships that I don't want to form a relationship because of who I'm related to. If that's why you're coming into my life, that's not a good enough reason for me to let you in anymore. So, and I'm having to teach my kids that. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense, Danny. And I love that you're talking about how you are really nurturing and developing your skill of discernment, right? Which probably as much as you have to have a wall up, I think the better at discerning you become, the easier it is to navigate those relationships, right? So I think that's good. You mentioned your access, and I feel like that's a really good point to bring up, because just like there's a cost to things, sometimes there's a payoff and a benefit to those things, right? So do you think, given your access, have you leveraged your access and your connections well enough, properly, to help you succeed in what you're doing? Or is that actually more mythical than we like to think, right? Is the juice worth the squeeze in that regard, considering all that you have to go through to have those connections and access?
No. So I'm going to be real about this. So all of my business is organically grown by myself. Most of my clients are strangers. Surprisingly enough, once you get into this industry and you think, the money's just going to pour in, I got this NBA brother, I got this football brother, I'm just going to have all the clients. Surprisingly enough, people do not go with you just because of who you know, and you got to be in their face all the time. And that's just not my personality. Like, I'm not going to be in your face to get business. Like, I'm going to get the job done. I have connections to help me get the job done. But as far as being that agent that's, out at the club and, out at all of the events, and I have 4 boys that I'm taking care of. So no, that connection, I have not been able to squeeze the juice from that. I have yet to receive a client from a referral from either one of my brothers. All my clients are from being Danny. And so as much as people would like to think, you got it easy, you're going to be selling these multi-million-dollar homes, that's not it. It's just, it really.
Let me be honest with you, from an outsider looking in, from understanding that was a part of your background. For me, that's what actually made you more attractive to me as a girlfriend. Because had it been about the hype and the hoopla, I probably would have been like, yeah, just because I shy away from that sort of lifestyle. That's the the whole fame thing, and to an extent, right? Because, you know, that world is a little different. It's a lot, right? So I'm saying from an outsider looking in, just giving you judgment or feedback, to me, that was actually what was most appealing about you, that you didn't make that your personality. And I think for people that are, and not only did you not make that your personality, but you also weren't like overhyping that just for the sake of like, you know, hey guys, because of this, talk to me. No, this is who I am. I think you show up pretty authentically on the internet, maybe sometimes too authentically.
Of course. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
I know it. And I always keep it real honest. But I want to say, because the majority of the people who listen to us, let's say, are young entrepreneurs, and, you know, Kelani runs a community of, you know, real estate agents nationwide. I think it's really important to hear your testimony on this, because oftentimes people are truly seeking this growth on a social media basis, similar to fame, because they believe that it's going to give them some sort of access, or it's going to give them some sort of fame and some sort of leverage to build their business. And it just doesn't always work that way. Building from the ground up is the best way to get leverage. It's the best way. This word of mouth. I was listening to Elon, and I know you probably don't want to hear this, Kelani, but I was listening to Elon Musk talk about what really made the difference for them, specifically in the state of Pennsylvania, for winning this election. And he said, his phrase was, it was the virality of word of mouth marketing, because they were going door to door in rural areas, especially for the Amish community, which was overlooked, knocking on doors and saying, this is what we want to get done. This is what we need to do. Let me make sure you have the rides. It wasn't the famous people. It wasn't the hoopla. It was the people in the corner of the earth that were being ignored. And it was that groundwork that made that difference, that created that little difference that they needed for the edge to win in such a massive way. So just a reminder that focusing on fame and seeking that sort of fame isn't exactly what's going to give you the leverage to get to where you want to get, or to build business, or to get that next client, even if you have famous family members.
Patty, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, we live in a society now where the lines are blurred. Everything we do, it's almost like if you don't put it on social media, it didn't happen, right? We use that. Obviously, social media could be a really great marketing tool. But even when you're talking about, let's take away, you know, Danny having a famous brother, me being on the radio, Kehlani getting famous from Clubhouse, Patty, you having this killer, you know, you having this killer, you being a killer entrepreneur yourself. Here's the problem. Everybody is looking to connect themselves. Think about it. Let's just take makeup artists. Let's take hairstylists. You know what I mean? Like, to me, these are essential workers, okay? They all in their bio want to say celebrity hairstylist, celebrity makeup artist. It's the validation of life right now that is killing me. And that is such a great point about the election in Pennsylvania, because there is a whole plethora of people that are being left out that also need these services. And you can become a multi-millionaire if you focus on, if you want to call them the little guys, whatever.
Exactly.
But trust me, everybody's going for the celebrity. And the reason why is because there's something inside of us. We have a hole inside of us that we need somebody else's fame and popularity to make us feel great about ourselves. Absolutely not. God gave every single one of us, everybody listening, a gift, right? And sometimes the world will know about it, but sometimes there's this little quiet world that will know about it. And that's between you, God, and those people. And you can make a really great living. So I'm so glad that you brought that up about the Amish community and how they were overlooked. Who is taking care of the overlooked communities? Yeah, that's how you build your business. Why are you chasing after everything that everybody else is chasing after? I don't understand that. Like, that is
right.
Like, find your lane, right? Find your lane and stop looking at the way someone else got success. Like, let's be clear. You know, nowadays we live in a society where you can literally have a whole career just by being somebody's girlfriend. Like, oh, is this like, where do we live? What are we doing with life? And jobs
have no talent.
When a gem like that gets dropped, we need a sound effect, Kelani. We need to be like, bow, 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 bow. You know,
I got you.
I'm just meeting you today, Danny, but I respect the fact that you're like, yeah, I got my brothers, but I got this out the mud because I had to. But what's great about that is that means nobody can take it from you, right?
Right.
When we get things, being in radio, I remember when I first started in radio, my brother set me down and said, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to compromise your morals, right? There's going to be plenty of opportunities for you to click up. He said, keep being you, keep being just Jade. Like, I have a whole nother page, it's called Just Jade from Dallas or whatever, but just keep being Jade. And even though you kind of, don't realize you a people pleaser or an empath or whatever throughout the process. Like, one thing that I pride myself on is I can still go to Oak Cliff, that's a neighborhood here, and I can still show up and show my face because, like, there's consistency there. I didn't necessarily switch up, and everything that I had to get, I did get it out the mud too. It wasn't because I was sleeping with anybody. It wasn't because I hooked up with some celebrity. I mean, those opportunities present themselves, but then you have to look further down the road and say, like, whatever I do to get it is what I'm gonna have to do to keep it. And that's what people have to understand. So if you got famous because you worked with the celebrity,
there's your sound of
you're funny. But if you got your popularity or your business grew because you were attached to a celebrity, then what are you doing? It's like a high. You're constantly looking for the next celebrity and the next celebrity. Go do Keisha's hair. Go cut Michael's hair. Go do the regular people. They're gonna pay you just like everybody else, and they're gonna be more consistent. Like, it is okay. We can be regular, y'all. Like, why can't we? I wish we could just be regular. I want to, girl. Okay, sorry.
I know way more people that have money and that have successful businesses that people would never know who they even are. Right, like, to that point. Now, I'm gonna backtrack us a little bit. Pennsylvania obviously had nothing to do with the $1 million sweepstakes that Elon Musk was, holding and just giving away millions of dollars of people who are registered to vote. It didn't have nothing to do with that. It was all about the parable of the lost sheep, when Jesus left the 99 to go get that one sheep, right? But that, you're exactly right. That needle in the haystack, I think, is like she said in the comments, is really, really well worth it. So now, Danny, I want to ask you this, with how you manage your business now, with how you get clients, with how you discern and do all of the things that you do while being a single mother. For you, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned dealing with crowds, infamy, followers, fame, the association to that world, and knowing what exists there? So I also want to make sure that we clarify the lens of which I'm asking this question. We know that there's a whole side of Hollywood, a whole side of entertainment that exists that most people never get to see or don't even know about until you become Diddy with freak off tapes, right? Like, there's a whole other side of this world that exists that people would never even know about. So knowing that exists, Danny, and knowing part of what you've been exposed to, what has been your biggest lesson in helping you stay grounded and rooted today?
There's been a lot. I mean, I'm older now and I do have 4 kids now, but like Jade was mentioning, the offers were going to be there, having my brother in the NBA with all these rich, good looking men, the opportunity to be famous as being a girlfriend or being a wife, the opportunity was always there. It was never appealing to me because you give up you give up your voice. You give up, you give up everything. I mean, there are some wives that I have so much respect for. Some of them, have taken the time to go and get degrees and, legit hold down families and carry themselves in such a way that they're an equal. But for the most part, from what I've seen, is they give up their sense of womanhood. And I'm too prideful. We come from a very prideful family. We weren't raised with having the most. And that is just something that I wasn't willing to sacrifice. So I think that my hardest lesson, and Patty will co-sign to this, is my weakness for love and relationship. Being a single mother and pursuing this grind. Real estate is never easy. I don't care how successful you are. My mentor, Patty knows my mentor. She grinds. I mean, she's extremely successful. She's got more than enough money to retire and just live the easy life. But when you're going after something like this, it's a daily grind. And there's no time for heartbreak. So I think that my biggest lesson has been who you let in as your partner, for one, and what you personally share, with your followers, what your clients see as far as relationship goes. I'm just getting out of a very set you back type a relationship, and it's been very public. And, you know, the grinding that I've done and the respect that I've earned in the community, and having people see me kind of fall from grace, because a man will make you look and act crazy when your heart is involved. You know, kind of that fall from grace has been, that has been something I've had to like really take to the chin, because it's a constant reminder that there's no time for heartbreak. You know, I got to get up every day and still be a mom. I got to get up every day and still, you know, chase another client, take care of the clients that I have, maintain the professional relationships, because, you know, even it's not just my professionalism, it's the people that are connected to me, and the people that refer to me, and, you know, the people that speak highly of me. So,
Yeah.
so my recent fall from grace, my realization was like, it's no longer about me. Like, I've worked too hard for personal life and personal feelings to affect what I have going on and moving forward. So, I guess
Which I think is also sad, because that means you have to put another wall up, right? And then you were talking about how hard it was to be operating with walls up. And I think that this is really important, because as women, you said something about who we allow in as partners, because I think one of the biggest problems with women empowerment and the seeking of equality and where we're at right now, and how we're all boss babes and doing all these things, the problem is that we also are human beings, and us women, we do very much so desire that companionship. And so to have to put another wall up, maybe I don't know if someone wants me because I'm making good money. Maybe I don't know if someone wants me because they're weaker. Now you have to juggle that with fame, and now you have to juggle that with, you know, heartbreak and putting up more walls. And I think that's really sad. And I think it's okay for us to say that that's sad. I think it's okay for women who are entrepreneurs to hear from other women that when your heart is broken and you don't feel like picking up the phone and talking to a client, it's okay that you're absolutely human. And it's also okay to think about this for all of you who are listening, who might say, hey, we want to tell you what did we wish we knew earlier on when we started in this path. And it's just that if you have a vision and you are working towards that vision, if you are allowing a partner into your life that doesn't share that vision, and you don't give them time to prove to you that they share that vision, instead of moving too quickly into a relationship, I think that you're going to suffer some major consequences from that. I think we need to talk about discernment. It's much easier to have that wisdom with age and time and experience. But for the people who haven't been through so many experiences, most of the time, if you're, let's say, early 30s, you might say, damn, my mom was right about everything. And now you should be listening to your sisters, as we're telling you that when you are entering into a relationship and you move too quickly into allowing someone to believe that you're committed, and you don't give them enough space to prove and earn that trust from you, it could end in heartbreak, which also derails you from your goals and derails you from what you were meant to do. And then you have either a fall from grace, or you have to clean yourself and pick yourself up again one more time. And the worst consequence of that is a hardened heart and another wall that goes up, which becomes extremely difficult for a woman to work with. We're not built like that, right? We're built to love, we're built to nurture, we're built in that way. So throwing up constant walls feels unnatural, and having to break through your own walls to have a conversation is tough. So I think that discernment is a really good point that we need to emphasize.
There you go.
No, this is really good. So I appreciate this, Danny. You know, we've got about 15 minutes left. Any closing thoughts from you? Anything you want to make sure that you talk about while you have this platform? The floor is absolutely yours for any closing thoughts.
I want to speak a little bit about the election. I don't know that we are all heartbroken. I know that I am personally, as a woman, as a Black woman. I won't get too far into detail about it, but, you know, my brother's very outspoken about it as well. And through the course of all the back and forth, the part of the fame, the cost of the fame. I don't know if you guys follow my brothers, or how many of you listening follow him, but he is very outspoken, and he doesn't really care. You know, he doesn't really care what other people think for the most part. He's going to get his opinion across. So what I actually ended up coming across is that people can't access him as easily as they can access me. So, and also people aren't bold enough to access him the way they're bold enough to access me. So I had people reaching out to me and not even realizing what he had said or done, but reaching out to attack me personally. And I had some really rotten things said about me, the grouping together of people, being biracial. I will never group people together. I will never say all white people are one way. I'll say a lot of them are. I'll never say all Black people are one way. I will say there are certain groups that are, but I personally had a close family, somebody we grew up with, reach out to me, and the cost of fame is just this. He was so upset about something that my brother had said, that this man called me on a Sunday morning before church to tell me about me being a Black single mother and having more benefits than he has, and that a Black woman was running, and all these things that have been said to me that I didn't deserve. But being that I'm accessed easier than my famous counterpart, than my famous brother, I've had grown men, close doors in my face. I've had people, throw things at me at games. And then on the other side, I've had people ask to take pictures. And the craziest thing about it is, what I will never understand is how people put people with more money or followers or fame on a pedestal. My brother is just like me. I mean, maybe less of a filter because
just to clarify, because I don't follow him. Just to clarify, who did he vote for? Was he mad that Kamala lost, or he was happy?
Yes, he was very much rooting for Kamala. He had a great interview with her. You guys got to all go check out his interview on All the Smoke. It was a really, really solid interview with her. But just putting people on pedestals is something that, I mean, as many people as I come in contact with, I try to talk to them about it. Is nobody deserves to be on a pedestal. I mean, unless they're saving lives or donating organs or doing something charitable, like nobody's different than us. And the outrage and the excitement and all those things that we feel for these people that simply have more money and fame than us, I will never understand. And I think that's why I've stepped back out of that circle, because in my opinion, nobody deserves to be put on a pedestal. And in the comparison, it's only going to make you feel bad about yourself, or like you're missing out on something, when in reality, I mean, the heroes around me, like Patty's a superstar in my eyes. She holds down the fort. She's killing it in business, and she's thoughtful, and she doesn't miss things, and she shows up for events. Like, those are the type of people that I put on pedestals. And as much as we can, try to talk this fame thing down. It's not all it's chopped up to be. The hours they work, the privacy that they lose, all their battles and all their losses, they're all public. The mental anguish, the outbursts that happen, that's all from just being constantly probed and prodded and talked about and judged, and then it trickles down to the kids. And I'm just not a fan of it. I'll even being in it and being around it, I'll just never be a fan of somebody being better than somebody else because of how much is in the bank. So
yeah,
right.
or whatever access you think
right, or however much you think they have in the bank, right? How many people we know that have so much celebrity and very little in their bank accounts? 100%. And you bring up a really good point. First of all, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I mean, no one should have to go through that just because you're exercising your right to vote or do what you believe to be right. That's number one. And number two, the thought that you provoked for me just now, Danny, is, Kamala herself just campaigned hard as hell for 2 months. She has been on every podcast, every show. She's campaigning all these states. I mean, she was moving, right? And she just publicly lost in a big way. And she has to eat that, right? And she had to get on stage today. She had to concede. She had to that brave face and that smile when it's like, wow, could you imagine doing all that work, giving your heart and soul, you know, out of the desire to benefit people, right? And use your voice to benefit and inspire a whole generation of people. And you had to take that L on the chin in front of every single person, right? And so that the cost of being in the limelight is a very strenuous one. I could not imagine having to eat that. Target. Yeah. And then exactly 100%. So anyway, shout out to her for that, just for keeping it so professional today, like a boss should. So anyway,
yeah, I felt like she was sending shots, but it was like quiet shots. Like, you know, that's how Daddy always was. I felt like she was sending some shots.
Oh, and she was. Yeah. And she was. I heard that, Danny. I heard it. And I think I love that you took a moment to have that moment. Yeah. Right. And expression though.
Well, yeah, because you become a target, and people just feel that. And I mean, you are free to say and act how you want to act, but like, shame on you. Like, what crosses people's mind? And that's another cost of fame, is the way that you talk to, treat, and behave with people that we deem celebrity. Like, what makes you think that human side of them isn't just going to jump out and smack the shit out of you? Like, sorry, but like there's lines that get crossed, and for some reason people think that because you are famous that they can just cross that line with you, almost like the entitlement that I have seen over the years. And that doesn't fly with me. And so that's why I've had to back out of the circle, is because I'm going to stop and give you the time that I feel you need and deserve for being, you know, disrespectful. So, and that doesn't always match up with, you know, what the theme of whatever event is going on, or, you know, the event or whatever is going on, that, you know, taking the time to address, it doesn't always work. And I'm learning. I'm still learning.
And that's what we're all doing. That's what we're all doing, is learning. You know, becoming a target is too high of a cost. Having to explain yourself is too high of a cost. Having to cover your mouth and watch what you say is too high of a cost, because we have learned on this show and in this community that authenticity has 4,000 times the power of that of the energy of love. Authenticity is important. Being able to have safe spaces in your workplace, at home, in your communities that you're building, where you could just really just let your hair down and be yourself, is so important for our growth. I think one of the best takeaways from this show, Kalani, if I can, with my closing statement, because I have to hop on a flight here soon, is that, you know, we really, really underestimate the outliers, right? Just like you highlighted, Jade, when we're talking about the Amish people in Pennsylvania that could have made the difference in this vote. And we talked about the people that were being directly targeted with negative rhetoric that came out and showed up and changed what people thought was going to be the outcome of this election. Don't forget about the outliers. Don't forget that you're looking at serving a community of people that are overlooked, and that could be the difference. I always say, and I've been tweeting this for a really long time, a deal a day is better than one big deal. Some people are constantly chasing that one big deal instead of the deal a day. Put the small deposits in there, and the compounding benefit of that will definitely surprise you.
Absolutely. And that is coming. That is coming
really fast, and just say, and remember, when you forget about the outliers, it tells a lot about who you are in your heart, because we were all outliers at one point in time in our lives. If we're already, you know, if we're still not. So just remember, we were that person one time. People will never forget how you make them feel. So we got to take care of everybody as if they were the Kamalas and the Matts and we got to respect human beings in general. So but that was a drop in my head for sure.
It was. And I really commend, I don't follow your brother. I don't know. I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan, but past that, I haven't followed too much. But one of the things I think is really key is you really got to protect yourself and guard what you say, especially when somebody else is cutting your check. Now that I'm sure that now that he's not in the league and he has more autonomy, he's got some control over his podcast and how he can present, it probably has created a lot more room for him to stretch and grow versus being holden to someone who is essentially funding your lifestyle, right? So I think that there's a lesson in that too, of owning your stuff, owning your processes, being courageous enough to step into business in that limelight. So Danny, before we get out of here, first of all, thank you for being here. Tell everybody where to find you.
Where to find me? Well, you find me on Instagram, Danny Barnes. Other than that, I'm with Culbertson and Gray out of Roseville in Sacramento area. And I'm just here, everyday stuff. I'm a mom. I'm an entrepreneur. I work hard. And you might catch me out because I'm single now. So
I might be there too, y'all.
I'll start hopping on airplanes and getting around a little bit. So yeah.
Patty, you always have great friends. You pick good friends, Patty.
Yes, you do.
I try. I'm actually very picky, and I try. But I told Kalani before the show today that Danny needs a tribe like ours around her. Did I not, Kalani? I said it.
You did.
And so we're gonna uplift you and shout out to you. Congratulations for building from the ground up and not leveraging and not name dropping and doing what you need to do. I'm in your corner, and now you got this crew. So it's nothing but up from here. It's up.
I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm excited. So thank you guys for having me. Definitely a pleasure. I'm honored to have been on here with you ladies. And it's only up from here.
It's only up from here. Guys, we are back next week on Wednesday. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific time. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, we are going to start pumping and making this thing rock the way that it needs to. So please like, comment, subscribe. Tap in with us on socials as well. And if there's anything that you would like to discuss with us, drop it in the comments, put it in the chat, let us know. We are more than happy to discuss it with you. And we are signing off from your favorite big sisters at That's What She Said. Everybody, we'll see you same place, same time next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.